non-binary pals. I come today to you back to the content mines. I had a little too many discussion posts lately, a little too much original content, a little too much content I had fun making. So now, I gotta go back to the man who started it all, the man who paid my college tuition when I was stealing his clips. Good old Farfa. And today, what we're gonna watch is why people quit reasons and myths. I quit Yu-Gi-Oh! Like a brief period around like the COVID era after my suspension. There was like this period where I literally just did not own any cards. I just kind of like existed within the sphere, but I didn't play. I want to see what this video kind of entails. So, let's give it a watch.
There comes a point in someone's life where they're constantly trying to chase that same high, the rush of dopamine and the serotonin that a once beloved hobby gave them. Perhaps it isn't Yu-Gi-Oh! That you fell out of love with. Maybe it's the slow, subconscious realization that playing Yu-Gi-Oh! Will never take you back to that period in life where all you had to worry about was double XP weekend in Modern Warfare 2, or your Mountain Dew coupons being valid and the pizza toppings you're gonna order.
Nope. I remember when I was a kid in like high school, twice or three times a week, on my walk home from school, I would buy a bag of Lay's salt and vinegar chips and a 2-liter bottle of Mountain Dew, and I would just munch on that shit for like 3 days while playing League of Legends for like 8 hours. Good times.
Oh, the problem is Fuelos. Just one more finalist, the game is fixed.
I've been saying this exact phrase since 2011.
My name is Farfa, and today I'll be your guide to the polemics of quitting Yu-Gi-Oh! Why did you quit? Why did you stop playing? And what was the last straw that made that love for the game fade away? There's been somewhat of a ruckus over the last couple of months with people quitting for various reasons within Yu-Gi-Oh! I'm going to dissect each one in complete depth, highlighting the negatives while also trying to tie in some positives, debunking some of the myths as well. I've just opened up channel memberships, so if you guys are interested, you can check out my videos a day early from now on by subscribing on the YouTube, and you get the customized.
Hell yeah.
See, Farfa, I could do that already because I've been editor on your channel.
Here I may as well.
He kicked me out! Wait, did he remove me? What the fuck? I got banned from Farfa's channel! Shout out to Trish, and I still have editor to this channel. It's very funny. Fake friend, bro. I thought we were friends, and I could steal all of your clips, unapparedly. Why would you do this to me? God's greatest content.
Post your name plastered in the comment section and little badges and stuff next to your name. It's just a nice way to support the channel. I've been really enjoying the content. Thanks so much for the support. Enjoy the rest of the video.
I love Street Fighter.
For something involving putting pictures and text on cardboard, you would think that surely my Singular Chase Extra Deck Secret Rare isn't going to require in-depth knowledge of circumventing the organ donation black market. But for as long as ever, really, Yu-Gi-Oh! Has had some really egregious expensive cards. From Blackluster Soldier, to Dark Arm Dragon, to Destroy Phoenix Enforcer, you can find something from every era of the game that, adjusted for inflation, could buy you enough shares in Tesla for those Cybertrucks to still be pieces of shit. Summary. Yu-Gi-Oh! Is an extremely expensive game that will cost a significant amount of money to be on the cutting edge of. However, with such an expansive card
I think this was new.
and the wide array of reprint options, there are alternatives that allow you to play the game at a somewhat competitive level for significantly less. Now let's dive into the details here and talk about each point, positive and negative. Now without a doubt, this was the biggest, greatest point of feedback I received as the criticisms for quitting the game. Now breaking this down, it's pretty easy to see why this is such a big problem. When just glancing over some of the tournament results featuring top cut deck lists of even something a little more on the casual side like regionals, you will easily find upwards of over 4 digits in cost for winning deck lists. Over $1,000 for a deck, main side and extra. These are just simple game pieces. To even enter and play to stand a chance at the competitive level for many players is just simply asking too much.
If you ever ask anyone what like the barrier of entry they would have to give to like do something, most people will say something within like the $20 to $50 range. Anything beyond like the $50 range is when people start getting like second thoughts. Think of like taking someone out to dinner or like asking to get like a group dinner on, and like the average price for a meal at like let's say like steakhouse or whatever is like maybe $70 to $120. That is where people start becoming a lot more person. Wow, that is like a serious sum of money for the average working American to spend on one meal. Because like the median income in America is like $35,000, and that's just for like, you know, the basics of like, you know, food or like alcohol when you're going to like a club or whatever. When you consider that Yu-Gi-Oh is a hobby and it costs $1,000 to seriously invest in the hobby, and don't lie to me and say like,
Oh, well, you gotta just not play Duelos, because the Duelos isn't actually that good and only gives you like a 10% win rate advantage, according to a guy I saw on YouTube.
like, okay, you could say that, but are you telling me that you're going to do an activity or play a hobby at a non-optimal level? It's kind of like saying like, oh, I'm gonna play Monopoly with my friends, but I'm only gonna roll one dice at a time, because if I had to buy the second dice, it would
Singular.
cost me $1,000. Like no, you're either just not gonna even bother getting into it, or you are just gonna be like really sad that like it costs this much in the first place, and then be like apprehensive and like blah blah blah. It's very frustrating.
Especially when those pieces are very likely to expire, or become nowhere near as playable within a year because of the metagame shift, or reprints. And comparatively, there are a lot of other card games popping up finding success and completely yoinking swathes of ex-Yu-Gi-Oh players into their fold. Star Wars decks can cost maybe 200
I didn't
max.
remember him saying that.
Are around about that same
What the
price
fuck is a
range.
slave?
And Pokemon potentially even cheaper. For the price of the best Yu-Gi-Oh deck, it's not uncommon to be able to afford the deck of other card games. If I enjoy Yu-Gi-Oh, but I also enjoy Pokemon, around about the same amount. Let's say I have a 70% interest in Pokemon and a 75% interest in Yu-Gi-Oh! A deciding
talk
factor
about
for
a
me
New
here
Year
might
gift, huh?
potentially just be to play the cheaper game. Even though I actually like Yu-Gi-Oh! For a lot of players, this is a logical conclusion. Why would I play Yu-Gi-Oh! When I can play other games for a fraction of the cost, and even if I was to spend the same amount of money in those card games as I would in Yu-Gi-Oh!, I'd be able to buy like 5 different decks, switching up my playstyle and enjoying different styles from different
Holy
angles
fucker,
whenever
Mavuika
I
and
want and whenever I
Sitlolly
go to
both running at the
or
exact
even
same
higher
time.
events. Now that sounds pretty bad, but conversely, let's take a look at the flip side and some of the other.
That's evil.
Yu-Gi-Oh! Is a game with plenty of viable budget options. For as long as the game has been around, format to format, there have been pretty cheap alternatives to the best deck lists.
Here, spoilers. They're all bad. Except exactly, maybe like one deck list. Exactly one. That was a cheap deck that was actually meta playable. That was Runic Stun and maybe Tinpot. If you ignore that China Drapion was like $80 at one point. Like if you were an Edison head and you just like had an extra China Drapion, Tenpai was like $12 until Impulsive Duel was. But we're not talking about we're not talking about that. Like 2 decks total ever have been like budget viable in like the past year. It's crazy.
Here's a regional where the top 2 decks were Ritual Beast and Sky Striker, getting first and second respectively, while both remaining under a cost of $150 for complete lists. And at the most recent YCS at Bologna, there were 6 Ritual Beasts in Top Cut as an example of a budget alternative to the top tier meta decks, playing Fiendsmith. And we also saw a bunch of other decks at Bologna making Top Cut. We saw Labyrinth, Centurion, Rescue Ace, a lot of decks not running Fiendsmith as an engine, and even in top 8, there were 8 unique archetypes in the cut. So we do know, especially currently where we are today, that there are alternatives to the best decks and to the most expensive decks. Curly is a very strong rogue deck. That thing costs literal dirt other than the staples, unless you want to play Ruelos. Melodious is a pretty cheap deck, and historically there are plenty of examples. Now, sadly, it doesn't happen as often anymore, but previously you used to be able to put restructure decks per year of certain archetypes and just essentially go from there.
Stop showing Salamangreat. Salamangreat was a lie. That Salamangreat is not a cheap deck. You still had you not only had to play Infirm in that deck, because like fucking Infirm was in every deck, but also like let's not lie to ourselves. The main reason Salamangreat was so good, fucking Phantasmate. Phantasmate and Salamangreat was so fucking broken. That card was arguably essential. Like Phantasmate was the Fuolos of like 2018. Except, like, it was somehow...
Oh my god.
Oh,
Why?
you were just, like, Phantasmate, you like, draw 2 hand traps, put back, like, the fucking Salamangreat Sanctuary, or you, like, draw to, like, System Down. Oh my god, System Down during Orchestra. Did you have that card one get neutral one time? It's so broken.
Solid structure decks with some rares, Green Monarch structure decks.
My god, they're adding a new character on a rerun then or two.
Just structure deck archetypes and themes with a couple of extras from outside the structure that could basically be pretty much competitive decks. But if you do want to spend a little bit extra and juice up your budget deck with a couple of those extra deck spaces and some of those main deck pieces, then that is also an alternative for a sort of mid-range kind of cost deck. There are a lot of decks in Yu-Gi-Oh! Like, a lot of archetypes. But today, you can see some strengths at the local or regional level, and again, I can't emphasize enough, just the most
Holy
basic
fuck,
ones,
it's a
Emotion,
chance to get
there was
Shunhe.
something of upwards of 10 different archetypes in Top Cut. And what I will mention as well,
Really
glasses
glad
of a lot of these decks in summaries are somewhat just like, because the numbers on your screen right now assume that you have
Fuck me.
absolutely none of the cards and are buying these deck lists card to card, main side extra from scratch. Maybe you
Fuck
already
me.
know Kingsman. Well, that in itself just opens up 4 other potential